Hello, this is Yuri from Russia. Would you like potato? Would you like vodka? Vodka make good in Russia, Soviet Russia. Potato vodka, you. What's up, guys? It's your boy. It's your man's fellow Antifa member here. Sorry, I got. I'm going to a goddamn Scorpion or Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat fucking cosplay tournament. I think I'm doing pretty good right now. I think I should win it, considering that every other person there is going to be a 12-year-old because it's for elementary school students. So I think I got this one. And if I don't, then I'm just going to punch them in the goddamn throat and declare myself the winner because they're kids. What the fuck are they going to do to me? That's a joke. I would never assault children unless they were my own, because sometimes they get out of line. You gotta hit them with a bag of oranges to make sure that they know who's the boss in the house. Right? I don't want none of that. My son growing up becoming some alpha male motherfucker and thinking he's gonna fuck his mom or something. So I got to show him from an early age that hey, I'm the man of the house. I'm gonna wear this mask while I do it too. So anyways, hey, how you doing, guys? Hey, time for another homeless human garbage update, brought to you by, or brought to you from, the Freedom Plaza down here, the Freedom Park, which is fucking amazing. As I've showed you this before, but I'm going to show it to you again. Let me pull this down because I'm sitting right across from a government building where like hardcore FBI motherfuckers like patrol the perimeter 24/7. If you're even walking down the sidewalk and that motherfucker looking suspicious, they they come pulling up out of the fucking place and scan the area. It's kind of fucking crazy, actually. It's kind of cool, but kind of crazy because when they drive around the perimeter, like, I don't know if you can see over there, but there's bushes around the whole perimeter of this government building. And they'll drive around it and they'll like fucking be scanning with fucking searchlights around the motherfucker. Like all hours of the day. It's kind of fucking nuts. Like you walk up on it and it's like, what? Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm in the state capitol, so that makes sense. Anyways, time for a homeless update. First of all, let's clear the air here. Let's go ahead and clear the air. I have not joined Antifa, but I have joined a Mortal Kombat cosplay group meant for children. Once again, I got to skew the odds to my favor, and their moms only have so much money, so I'm kind of betting on the fact that since their dads had left a long time ago to get cigarettes and never came back, that the moms really ain't making that much money at Walmart. So, I mean, hey, they can't afford that great of a costume, right? So I got it to my advantage. That, and I mean, they're fucking kids. They're poor kids. How smart could they be, right? Anyways, so I'm trying to be happy. I'm trying to be, uplifted. So there's a couple of things I need to talk about. First of all, let me just say that I made a post today, basically declaring that I'm kind of fucking done with a lot of people. Not anybody in particular that I've met probably over the last couple years in the arts that I really treasure. I hope you guys know who you are, because those are some of the only, and why I treasure them is because those are some of the only goddamn people who gave a fuck. And when I was actually talking about self-harm a while back, and I had a really dark day, the only people who reached out and said, "Are you okay?" were two of those people, which blew my fucking mind because usually nobody responds. That's why I kind of had mental breakdowns over the years, because I'm like sitting there pouring my heart out every day. I'm like, I'm fucking, I don't know what to do, man. I'm kind of lost. And people would comment like, "Oh, well, it's all in God's hands," or something. It's like, but and you could direct message people in certain situations like that, right? Like, I kind of feel like sometimes those comments were meant to seem philanthropic or to be publicly viewed as being philanthropic, while not. Most of the great people I've met in my life, like, for example, me, when I have stuff, when I give stuff, I don't advertise it. I don't believe in going out and giving a goddamn sandwich to a homeless man and videotaping it. I don't believe in going out and giving a goddamn dollar to a homeless person and videotaping it, putting it on social media and trying to get thousands of views for whatever the fuck your bullshit cause is. Like you're not doing really much of shit. You're just putting, once again, band-aids on bullet holes. But real people who give a fuck and they don't, it's like they do it and it's like, don't even mention it, don't even worry about it, whatever. It's like whenever I have been in positions to help people, whatever, it's like, you don't owe me shit. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Because I know what it's like to be, just like probably the people who've helped me and done stuff for me and said, don't worry about it. They know what it's like to be fucking down and out and in the shit, So that brings me to the point of what I was discussing in the post. So there's levels. I don't know if you guys know this. There's levels to philanthropy. There's levels to, and maybe you're aware of this, but there's levels to care in this world. Most of the most authentic, heartfelt, loving, passionate people are going to come from very, very dark, horrible, shitty places. And the most substantial, greatest people I've ever met in my life have come from dark, shitty, ghetto, shithole, horrible war zone places. For example, my friend Jerel who got locked up apparently for 8 years recently for something, I don't know, I haven't been made aware. He comes from a place of very, very, reason why he's my brother and the reason why I love the man so much is we met out here on the streets. We had each other's backs. We took care of each other. But Jerel is also a prime example of somebody who shouldn't be out here. Jerel just ended up, like me, falling through the cracks and getting into a fucked up financial situation. And he wasn't a crackhead or a junkie. He wasn't a psycho. He wasn't nothing. He just couldn't fucking make ends meet all of a sudden. And his family member actually stole a bunch of money off of his credit that he didn't know about when he went to go pay his rent to get enough time to go find another job. And guess what? His credit score was fucked because his relative, basically stole thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in his name. And he had no clue what was going on because he didn't receive the credit notices. So when he went to go use his credit card, it maxed out. He's like, what are you talking about? And come to find out, me and Jerel also related on a point of the first people to kind of take advantage of him and were his family. Not all of his family, but some of the key members of his family that he was trusting and relying on. For example, not to air out his laundry, I'm really not trying to do that, but his dad, he had a falling out with his father. His father basically, would not give him a place to stay because the stepmother didn't like him. And the stepmother was white, and they had this whole situation going on in Gastonia. And, and Jerel basically migrated to Gastonia and came to Gastonia solely for the fact of being near his family, his sister, etc., stuff like that, to get certain resources, but yet to also, hopefully get into a situation where he could better himself. And he got into the Salvation Army there. Their corrupted system screwed him over. He, ended up getting thrown out of there because of their corrupted system. And they did not help him. They did not assist him. And this is a person who, for all intents and purposes, he's a veteran. He served in the Army. He came from New York. He's a business savvy kind of guy. He's very charming. He's, I'm not gay, but I'm willing to admit that he's a handsome fella. He's always, every woman he's ever met, he's charmed the pants off of her instantly. I mean, they just love him. I mean, he's kind of a shorter guy, so he's a little, Latin American, kind of, he's got that vibe, man. I mean, he's got all the right tools to where I could see any woman walking up to him being very comfortable around him and being very, he knows how to charm people. I mean, that's because of his prerequisite background. I'm not going to go into that on video, but let's just say that he's had a lot of experience climbing social ladders and stuff like that in New York. You could tell. He's a wheeler and a dealer. He's a mover. He's a shaker. He knows how to get shit done quick. And I don't know. It's weird, man. Seeing the situation there, I got to witness him from pretty much right after he left the shelter to what mentally started happening over a course of like months of him being homeless and starting to get more kind of lost and desperate and, losing his mind essentially. Kind of like, how the fuck am I here? And he even went so far as to say his brother, because in New York there's a whole perception of homeless people that's, whatever. And rightfully so, because there's some very severe things going on in New York that with homeless that is just fucking mind blowing. Just like with California, those are the epicenters of like homeless, crazy, fucked up, ridiculous shit. Because you think New York and California are two of the largest economies in America, but yet they still have the same homeless disparity and horse shit going on with them. California even worse. And it's like, man, it's like Hollywood brings in billions of dollars a year in entertainment, but yet none of that money could go to the people or funding homeless relief or some kind of shelter or therapy programs or any of that shit. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. So what we're seeing across the country is the richest, states, cities, stuff like that have the worst and most depraved homeless issues. And I think part of that is that if you go homeless in places like that, for example, here, I could watch every day people who make very good money, arguably, walk right past desolation, despair, and human suffering and death, and literally people rotting away on the streets like it's nothing. Like that's normal for them, and it is, and I get it. That's just like with school shootings and mass shootings. There was a quote that I really loved about that, was just talking about, we cannot let that become commonplace, because once you get exposed, it's kind of a weird psychological thing to where once you get exposed to carnage and chaos and hell so much, you start to think that that's normal. You let it become normal because I guess it's an adaptive mechanism of your brain. You have no other choice, and it becomes commonplace, hell and suffering. So therefore, what we got in America is these people see it every day, and it starts with little excuses, and it starts with little reasonings, and it starts with little this, that, and the other. And next thing you know, you could walk by just literally babies dying in the street and not feel a goddamn thing, even though you are in a position to help. Now, that's a complicated issue. That's a big kind of fucking topic there about the wealth disparity and everything like that, which is only, once again, let me be clear here about something else. I wholeheartedly believe that we are right now in the downfall of Western civilization, going into high gear. And the signs are everywhere. Everything's pointing to it. And we are really heading up on some big cliffs here, man, as an American society, because the oligarchy, the money control of our government is real. The money control of, our main core of government is very real. Democrats and Republicans, as far as I'm concerned, both of them are bought and paid for. Lobbyist control, stuff like that is just ridiculous. For example, going back to mass shootings, any goddamn country in the world outside of America would have long ago done something about that. Extreme. Okay. Now, okay, granted, one or two instances, within a span of certain years, that's understandable. That happens. But goddamn, when it gets to literally every year now, We just wait for it. Okay, when's the next mass, killing? Just like with that shit that happened in New Orleans recently. I mean, really, did that, stop and think about this real quick. Did that really hit you? I mean, did that really hit you like it used to? Can you remember 3 or 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even a year ago? Can you remember how shit like that used to hit you? But now, I mean, like literally the other day I saw that, and I mean, maybe it's just me. I just could not really feel it. I mean, I felt it, but I really didn't feel it because I've seen so much goddamn carnage over the last, 5, 6 years in this country, broadcast and pumped into my face, whether I want to see it or not. Just like with George Floyd killings and all these racial killings, man. After George Floyd, or actually Philando Castile, after that happened, I did not want to watch another goddamn video, especially not the George Floyd shit. No, I don't want to see it. No, I don't want to see a man get fucking suffocated to death with a knee on his goddamn neck while he cries for his mother. No, I don't have to. Your description's just fine, bud. Trust me, I don't need to fucking see that. Because I've already seen the Philando Castile shit, and that shit fucked me up. That shit literally fucked my brain up for quite some time. It was so much so to where I was inspired to do a piece of art on that. And it made me so goddamn angry at the time. And so fucking just infuriated. And not just because of what happened, mind you, but because of the reactions. Because there was literally no kind of fucking, let's get together and march the goddamn streets. Let's meet at that fucking place tomorrow and shut these motherfuckers down, man, until they get that cocksucker who did this and prosecute his ass. There wasn't none of that shit. And it took more, like, God knows how many more deaths. I mean, George Floyd was kind of the tipping point for all that shit. Like, I mean, across the world, people started protesting. And I mean, it was a horrible thing, but man, that fucking aftermath of that, and that goes to show you, and there's examples of it. If we get together and we fucking hold these motherfuckers accountable, and we do what we gotta do, and we fucking stand outside the gates and we demand goddamn change, it's going to fucking happen. If you walk away from the machines, if you walk away from the fucking day jobs, they're going to give you what the fuck you want. That's the whole point. The problem is now that they programmed the capitalist mindset into everybody. So, therefore, the ones who, okay, so let's break this down real quick. You got the poor, you got homeless, poor, middle class, and then you got like the people who are above middle class. Okay, so let's just say roughly middle class is $30,000 to $50,000, $60,000 a year income, right? Median income, whatever. So that income bracket right there, first of all, absorbs all the tax responsibility of the country. Meanwhile, once again, and I've said this before, but I'm going to just reiterate, the 1%, the ones who are right there playing golf with your goddamn presidents and governors and paying to get them in the fucking White House and, the Senate and all this shit, they do not have to pay a dime, right? So, what we got going on here in the capitalist shit, as far as just my humble take, so you got the middle class and everybody who's not in the ghetto thinks that they're part of the 1%, or they think that somehow twisted in their heads, they think, okay, well, if the shit pops off, I'm going to be protected. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that, right? And it only gets worse the more money you make per year. And the more you get into little closed social clubs and whatever in specific counties and states and whatever, it's a sickness that becomes prevalent because that's how they want to program it. They won't, Elon Musk and the 1% and the billionaires and trillionaires are the real people who own this country, the CEOs and all that, man. Trust me. Years ago, you can look it up, I'm not lying, they started building bunkers. They got bunkers. Actually, it's a very big industry, apparently. Bunker building, okay? They actually got a couple of really highbrow companies right now who sell safety bunkers for, whoever. It's you got to be fucking wealthy to get it, of course. And you know, they got this one place that's like multifaceted bunker. It's like a fucking hotel bunker that you could pay to live on certain floors. It's like $100,000, something like that, to live on a floor, basically like a house that's buried underground. Now, you know, albeit a lot of the billionaires, like for example, Silicon Valley, they did a documentary I seen it online to where this one billionaire, they did an interview with him on his yacht, and he was actually out, you know, talking about it, and he was building a bunker because of a fallout that he saw coming from basically the mechanized revolution, meaning more industry in America is going to be automated. So it's the same thing that kind of happened with Detroit steel and the Detroit auto industry. A lot of those jobs, a lot of that stuff disappeared, you know, with the Detroit auto industry and destroyed their economy, and along with Detroit steel. But it was because that shit became automated. That shit not only became automated, but, you know, they moved to factories and all that shit. But it became automated for the most part. And that destroyed a lot of the auto manufacturing industry workers, was automation. And the way they see it, though, or the way he was describing it, is going to happen across all roads of manufacturing. So essentially, for example, a lot of the shit you get off of Temu, Amazon, you already know this, is made in China because China has no labor laws and they can get shit like that manufactured for pennies on the dollar, drive people to death, essentially. And then we Americans get to consume that at a discounted price because it is literally being, you know, given to them damn near by the Chinese, because the Chinese don't give a fuck about driving their people into the ground and driving them to death. So that's, you know, they're willing to trade their people for economic prowess, and not only that, connections with CEOs. A lot of things going on in China, been going on in China. Like, for example, a lot of test cities that they built for basically, you know, police monitoring 24/7. It was kind of a crazy situation, and you can look it up. It's like mock cities that they literally built out in the desert, and Americans, Europeans, whatever, I think English put a lot of money into it, built these mock cities out in China, and the Chinese government had provided slave labor, whatever they had. And they built these cities to basically test security camera capabilities. And basically, you know, they started actually filling them with people. And they used that to essentially test the system. A lot of Chinese new cities and stuff like that they built, they put basically those safeguards in place because, you know, once they test out the logistical properties for like England distribution and America distribution, they then therefore get to observe a real population in real time doing what they're doing, you know. And China was more than willing to sacrifice their citizens for that, to put them under literally 24-hour, you know, constant surveillance. A lot of stuff goes on in China, man. Like if you go there as a business person or something like that, that it won't fly anywhere else in the world. Like they wiretap bug shit in your rooms when you go to hotel, they crazy stuff. But anyways, so getting back to what I was trying to say, the guy was saying basically that everything's going to become automated. That's going to put a huge number of people in America out of work. The unemployment rate is going to go through the roof, and it is essentially going to cause an economic disparity and what he described as basically an economic apocalypse. Which, you know, it was very well, it's very intelligent and well written and argued. And it's kind of true. Because, you know, once they develop the machines to realistically do what's going on in China right now and make those production lines that much better, they will no longer need China. And that might be what's happening now, and the reason why the world seems to be kind of turning against China and trying to get rid of Chinese money and influence and blah, 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 all of a sudden, because they no longer need the Chinese slave labor manufacturing because they've gotten plans to automate that and put that somewhere else. But what I was going to with the capitalist thing, going back to that, the capitalist sickness is the more money you get, the higher up on the food chain you get in this country. You start to believe that, you know, you're part of the 1%, the untouchables, whatever. You're not. The only thing you are to them is cannon fodder. And what I'm saying is that, and what my appeal to the people who are wealthy or median wealthy or whatever in gated communities and all this stuff, my kind of warning to them is that these assholes at the top who are giving, you know, wealthy people a bad name, period, because to be honest with you, not all the super wealthy, successful people are bad people. Just a couple of them are really pieces of shit, but some of them have openly discussed the problems and openly discussed what's going on and openly discuss, you know, the oligarchy and basically the economic disparity growing at exponentially at this rate, that over in the next, you know, 5 years, we may be looking at most, if not a lot of Americans fighting to, you know, even keep a roof over their head, or if not outright being homeless. My fear of all this, the grand plan, which I know a lot of people are like, Illuminati, it's the Illuminati and the Freemasons and blah, blah, blah. They dress that shit up, and I think the rich put that out there because they know goddamn idiots will lap up any fucking stupid shit. It's essentially not even that. And it's happening right in front of your face. It's just nobody reads or does research or goddamn pays attention anymore unless it's on a 30-second video or TikTok or something like that. But if you really dig into it, they're just doing it right out in the open because they know most American people just ain't smart enough or don't have the time or whatever the excuse may be to really research or pay attention to what's going on. And now it may be too late because they honestly have consolidated a lot of shit with the Trump victory. And, you know, I hate to say it for Trump and stuff like that, but he is basically, you know, I kind of got the idea that he was the dumbest rich guy they could find that they could sell shit to, and the greediest, to where they could promise him ludicrous shit that's going to happen and he would act in their name, and they knew it. So they started appealing to Donald and stuff like this, you know. I think that's why they love him so goddamn much, honestly, because he, you know, they just stick their hand up his ass and use him like a puppet, and he's like, hey, I'm all for that, bro. But, you know, wrap this up because this is getting to be very fucking long. Essentially, the crimes of the super rich are not going to be impacting the super rich, the 1%. The 1% will be safe. They will be guarded. Once again, they will be in bunkers. They'll be in mountain, you know, probably in Mount Zion, whatever the fuck that is, for the nuclear defense program. They'll be locked inside with our government officials. Trust me. They will be well protected. They will have the goddamn Army, National Guard, nukes, drones, everything at their disposal to protect them because they are part of the fallout race. They are part of what they want to repopulate society. Now, as far as everybody else, which includes all these people who think, well, they're going to save me. No, you're not invited to the party. You're going to be what the poors focus on. You get it when the French Revolution-esque revolt happens in America, which I'm telling you, it's going to happen within the next 5 years, for sure. You already see what's popping off at Amazon. People are getting fucking sick and tired of being sick and tired, man. They're losing their minds. And they realize that there is no longer representation. I think what we don't hear enough is that there's a lot more people coming to this realization. And, you know, for example, Luigi Mangione, he's one of probably thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who's ready to do that. And they know it. And they know that the jig's up, the game's up. They know that their gambit, what they've been doing to the American economy for the last 15 to 20 years. I mean, hell, we could even dare say the Reagan era has not worked. And it has actually blown up in their faces. And now they're kind of in a tailspin panic. And I dare say, man, that the shit's coming. The shit's coming hard. And I mean, it may not even be that long. It may be another year, because some of the housing costs and everything are going up every fucking 6 months now. Shit's getting rough, man. Real fast. And it ain't even a fucking like entertainment